Hi, welcome back to Rock Natural, and I'm coming to you today with a quick little video that's way overdue, but I'm finally having the time to sit down and do it. And so before we get started, make sure you are subscribed. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. You can plan to see lifestyle videos, beauty videos, hair videos, tips and tricks, and so you don't want to miss out on all of this content that I'll be providing for you. I am thinking about updating my posting schedule, so you don't want to miss out. Now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So today I'll be coming to you with 10, not 5, but 10 key essentials for traveling abroad. So I've been to a different country 3 times now, and each experience is different. But I wanted to come to you because my last one was very special and I learned a lot of things from that. So the first tip is, I would say, try to get a direct flight to wherever you're going. This just helps with any late flights so that you're not missing flights or any missing luggage or anything like that. It's always best, not always, like sometimes you can get multiple flights, but I find it's the easiest when you just have one direct flight to where you're going so you don't miss your flight or your luggage isn't lost. Even though recently I went to Rome. If you haven't seen my Rome vlog, I'll leave the link to that down below. It was a blast. I loved it. Rome is so beautiful. So on my way to Rome, we only had one direct flight and they lost my luggage. So I'm like more about just like a direct flight. Even though that did happen to me, I still find that that's the easiest way to just make sure your luggage gets to you when you arrive. Okay, tip number 2. Overestimate the amount of money you need to bring. You may think that you're only going to be needing a certain amount, but make sure you bring more than you actually need. This way you're able to pay for everything that happens and you're not having to use the ATM, or you're not having to not do anything you want to do because you didn't bring enough money. So the only thing with that is that if you're using the ATM, they're charging you for like fees that, you know, like currency fees if that's a thing, or you know, any additional fees that your bank might have for using a ATM that's not your bank. Make sure you overestimate what you need to bring. That brings me into tip number 3. So check what currency wherever you're going is. You could do this online. Your bank usually has the currency, or you may have to go somewhere else to get it. You don't want to wait till you get to the airport because there's usually extra fees. So check your currency before time so that you can get enough money and you don't have to worry about any additional fees. 4. Double, triple check where you're staying and your surroundings. So you're going to a new country and you may have never been here before, you have, or most likely you don't know anyone in that country. So it's so important to check wherever you're staying. I went to Rome and we stayed in an Airbnb and the people were super nice and we got so lucky. The only thing was that we were not in the city, which is where usually like all the touristy people or all the tourists stay. It was super touristy, but we lived about 15 minutes on the train. And you know, these things, like if you've never been there before and you decide to book something like this, you're reading the description, you're reading the reviews, you're trying to look on the map to see where you're at, and sometimes it doesn't always play out. So we ended up staying in a community with all the locals, but we were walking about 15 to 20 minutes a day just to get to the train, and then the train would take us into the city to where we would go, and that was only about like 10 to 15 minutes as well. 5. Check with your phone service, whatever service you have, to see if they're gonna work in the country that you're going to. So I was like, oh, I checked with my phone service, but it didn't really say specifically if it would work in Rome or not. So I was able to use my phone if I was connected to the internet. But my friends, they had a different phone service and theirs transferred over easily, and they had to pay per minute, but at the same time they were able to use their phones. So this is so important. If I were by myself and I did not have a phone, then that would be a problem, because you may not always have the internet. You may not always be connected to the internet. And so with them, like, we were able to be out and about, and we were able to communicate with people and tell them that we made it to our destination. And so that's so very important to double check with your phone service to make sure that you will have service wherever you're going, whether that's, you know how they transfer over service is called something else whenever you go. So I've been to a couple different places. I've been to Mexico and my phone service worked without me having to do anything. I've been to Antigua, and the same thing, where I only worked on Wi-Fi, and then in Rome I only worked on Wi-Fi. So it's always super important to make sure you have some, like, you or your friends have some type of phone service, just so people know where you are. And we didn't really realize that the people didn't speak that much English, so we were trying to translate and, you know, use maps and all this stuff, and it eventually played out, and it was a great experience. I would just say, like, double, triple check wherever you're staying, so that you are in an area that you feel comfortable, and especially if you're by yourself. Like, there were 3 of us, so we were able to easily find out where we were going, and the people, we stayed in an Airbnb, and the people who was letting us use their Airbnb, they were really nice and showed us, like, where to go and told us where to go, which was very helpful. But some people's Airbnb may not be that nice, so just double, triple check. Okay, we are on 7, and so this one I found to be important, because if you haven't seen my Rome vlog, you need to see it. But they lost my luggage, and so luckily I had put my toiletries in my friend's bag, and so my 2 friends' bags made it, even though we were on the same flight and everything. Their bags made it to our destination, but for some reason my bag was shipped to Barcelona, and so I was without my bag. So we got there Sunday. I was without my bag until Tuesday night, and so that's problematic, because, like, you don't have clothes, you don't have anything. So tip number 7 is to pack a pair of clothes in a carry-on bag that you're bringing. So most international flights, from what I think I know, let you take at least a carry-on bag, or even if you have just like a little backpack, pack some type of extra clothes in there for this occasion. So extra undergarments, extra like leggings and a shirt is pretty much all you need, unless you're doing super fancy stuff. But I would say that's just like the basic. And then make sure your toiletries are also somewhere, so pack little. Toiletries are easier to find than having to buy new clothes. Like, some people don't mind buying new clothes, but I would just say always pack an extra pair of clothes in a carry-on bag. That way, if your bag does get lost for a number of days, then you will at least be able to have an extra pair of clothes to change into until you get your bag. 8, bring a blanket. So when I went to Mexico, or like when I went to any of these international places, they didn't actually provide me with blanket, but I'm sure if I was in first class, they would provide me with the blanket and a pillow, etc., etc. But everybody ain't got time or the money to be buying first class flights everywhere. So, like, I like to travel, and if I'm going to a lot of international flights, I'm most likely balling on a budget, so I'm not about to be spending so much money on, you know, buying first class flights, which some people can. I can't. So I would say bring a blanket, bring some pillow. I have a neck pillow, so I use that as my pillow, and then this way you will be warm. So when I went to Hawaii, they provided me with a little pillow and a blanket, and I was like, this is awesome. That flight was 5 hours, but when I went to Rome, that flight was 8 hours, and they didn't provide me with any of that. So make sure you just bring some type of throw blanket. All this stuff could go into like a little carry-on bag. It's probably like a travel bag that you just bring with you, easy to maneuver, get the job done. So So that brings me to my next one. So unless you're in first class or you purchase a meal ahead of time, meals are so expensive. Like meals are extra $45 to $50 depending on which flight and where you're going. So sometimes it is best just to buy the meals with the flight. But if you're like me, balling on a budget, you most likely won't be, like, I didn't purchase a meal to go with my flight. I just brought so many snacks. And you know, snacks can only fill you up for so long, but like I feel like if you have a meal right before you get on the plane, a good meal, and then while you're on the plane you eat your snacks, then it's not that bad because you're sleeping, you're sitting, so it's actually just like sitting in your stomach, so you'll stay full longer if you have that good meal. But then throughout you can snack on stuff until you get there, and then when you get there, eat a meal, a full meal. So that is tip number 9. And then tip number 10. We did not hop around a lot, but I would say if you're going to be hopping around from, you're going to a country, but then you're going to be going from like city to city, I would say pack light. I did not pack the lightest because I was like, I need to bring all this stuff. But just thinking back on it, even just traveling, because you don't know where you're going to walk to, you don't know any of that stuff. So I would just say pack on the lighter side and really think about those items that you need to bring rather than those items you want to bring. And also think about how much you're going to be purchasing while you're there and all those things. So if you pack lighter going, then coming back you can pack a little heavier, but it's still not a strain on your body, or you know, you having to carry it around isn't a lot. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. I feel like it was way overdue, and some of these tips are helpful for when you're traveling within the country as well. I just thought like traveling abroad was more of a rare subject, and some people may have never traveled abroad and may not know what to bring the first time they're going abroad. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And like I said, I will be bringing you new content, so you don't want to miss out. And I will see you in my next upload. Toodles!